Good day students, and welcome to today's lockdown lesson for Labour Relations in 6, where we are going to look at part 2 of module 6. Nou net om vinnig te recap, module 6 gaan oor die kommunikasiestruktuur en prosedures wat beskikbaar is binne die besigheid, sodat daar 'n twee-rigting vloei van kommunikasie kan plaasvind. Remember, communication is a two-way process. We cannot just as management team communicate downwards to our workers. We must also allow them to be able to communicate back upwards to us. And in both instances, we have certain structures and certain procedures at our disposal to make that a little bit easier. Net so vinnig vir opwaartse kommunikasie kan ons gebruik maak van jou griewe prosedure. We can make use of the appeal procedure in the case of discipline. Ons kan ook deur middel van ons vakbonde en vakbondverteenwoordigers hierdie inligting deurgee aan ons bestuur. When we look at downward communication, we focus mainly on what is known as the briefing groups and various other committees to communicate downwards to employees. En dan het ons ook die dissiplinêre prosedure as ook die afleggingsprosedure, retrenchment. So we are going to look at each one of those structures and procedures in this module. And in today's section, we are going to focus on two particular structures known as workplace forums and briefing groups. Nou, werksplekforums het ons reeds in N5 behandel, so we are going to go through this one relatively fast. But for now, you need to understand that this structure has been prescribed by the Labour Relations Act, and it's there to voluntarily facilitate communication between management and employees. Hierdie werksplekforum volg dieselfde prinsip as 'n vakbond met vakbondverteenwoordigers. Die groot verskil is daar is nie 'n derde party of 'n eksterne party betrokke soos in die geval van 'n vakbond nie. Hierdie werksplekforum bestaan hoofsaaklik uit jou werknemers wat verteenwoordigers stuur as ook bestuur wat verteenwoordigers het wat dan met mekaar kommunikeer op 'n gereelde basis. En werksplekforums is ook geskik vir besighede waar daar meer as 100 werknemers is. So if there are more than 100 workers, we can make use of a workplace forum. So according to the textbook on page 99, there are certain main functions of a workplace forum. And the first function is to promote the interests of the employees. Now this is where they become very similar to that of a trade union with shop stewards representing workers in the workplace. The main aim with the workplace forum and with the union is to promote the interests of our workers. So hulle is hoofsaaklik daar om die belange van die werkers op die hart te dra. Die volgende funksie is om efficiency in die werksplek te verbeter. Hulle wil effektief wees, hulle wil doelmatig wees, and by having those discussions between management and employees, they can actually increase efficiency over a period of time. The third and the fourth main functions are particularly important. The fourth function, or the third function, says that they have the right to consult with parties on certain matters. Okay? And the fourth one says that the workplace forum can also partake in decision making. So they have a dual role. On the one side, they can be consulted, and on the other side, they can actually take part in decision making. So kom ons kyk gou-gou 'n bietjie op watter onderwerpe kan 'n werksplekforum met mekaar net konsulteer en watter onderwerpe kan hulle regtig gesê hê in terme van besluitneming. According to the textbook, in terms of section 84 of the Labour Relations Act, the workplace forum can be consulted on the following matters. Hulle praat van restructuring, so wanneer hulle die struktuur van die besigheid verander, when they're going to introduce new technology or machinery, wanneer sekere takke gaan toemaak, when there are plant closures, or when there are mergers or transfers of ownership. For example, when you sell the business to someone else, or when you sell a particular brand or product to someone else. Excuse me. They can also be consulted on dismissals based on operational requirements. Hierdie is nou waar afleggings plaasvind nie. Afleggings se ander term is afleggings as gevolg van operasionele vereistes, and that's a very important concept that we will also discuss in one of the next parts of this module. And they can also be consulted on education and training. So wanneer hulle consult, kom bestuurders bymekaar met verteenwoordigers van die werkers en hulle kom praat oor hierdie goed en hoe hulle dit gaan implementeer en hoe dit die werkers gaan beïnvloed and how they can actually mitigate or aggravate circumstances in the business. Now on the other side of the coin, the workplace forum can also take part in decision making. There are certain aspects that they can actually have a say in, and we talk there about disciplinary codes and procedures wat die werknemers direk raak. We must make sure that everybody is aware of the rules, of course, and that when there are changes to the code of conduct, that the workplace forum in this case is also then consulted, and that they also have a say when it comes to making decisions. Natuurlijk gaan hulle ook sê in hoe hulle gaan besluit oor maniere hoe mense wat voorheen benadeel is te verbeter vir al hulle omstandighede, and then of course when there are any rules with regard to workplace regulations that they should be aware of. Alright, so that is a workplace forum. The second structure we're going to look at is a briefing group. Nou, a briefing group is 'n baie belangrike konsep ook, want dit vind plaas gewoonlik op 'n daaglikse basis voor verskillende skofte of aan die begin van 'n spesifieke dag. And that's when the team leader or supervisor gets together with their team to just talk about what their targets or responsibilities or even key focus areas for the day should be, and then they'll talk about what are some of the challenges that they're experiencing en of daar enige dinge is wat hulle moet onthou vir aandag, or whether there are certain aspects that could be problematic. So is regtig 'n geval van wat is om te verwag, what did we do in the previous shift, what should we still do in the next shift. Ek onthou toe ek by Nestlé gewerk het, ons elke dag so 'n briefinggroep gehad as 'n HR span, elke oggend, ek dink dit was 8:15 as ek nou reg onthou. So we all made a cup of coffee, we sat around the boardroom table and we just had a chat in terms of what is our focus areas for the day, are there any important information that the HR business partner needs to give us, and how can we help the business to be more strategic when it comes to its people. Nou hulle gee daar vir jou wat is die doel van 'n span vergadering soos hierdie, 'n departmental briefing group. First of all, you want to reduce the damaging effects of grapevine and rumors. Baie keer, as daar nie genoegsame kommunikasie plaasvind nie, is daar maar storieetjies wat begin versprei word, and then each story gets a little tail, and then it basically just explodes into something that's entirely not true. Okay. Die volgende een is, they want to maintain a balanced perspective on information. So don't just listen to what your colleagues are saying, but also to what the business are actually saying. So gee 'n bietjie 'n gebalanseerde perspektief. Dis ook daar om misverstande te verminder. Another purpose is to strengthen the position of the manager in the team, and of course to gain greater cooperation with the employees who are actually responsible for conducting the work. Hulle gee ook daar vir jou 'n paar beginsels, principles. One of them should be face-to-face. Jy kan nie via WhatsApp of 'n telefoon oproep met jou groep hierdie briefing meeting hê nie. It has to take place face-to-face regularly as well. Jou groep moet ook redelik klein wees. You cannot communicate to 50 people. Keep it small, like 5 to 6 people, maximum about 10 to 12. Briefing groups should be held regularly. Is gewoonlik voor die begin van elke skof of aan die begin van elke dag. Sometimes they have a meeting once a week. By die college het al die dosente elke oggend 'n vergadering. So our briefing meetings are normally in the beginning of the day, and then we share that information with our classes. Inligting moet ook natuurlik relevant wees. It's no use communicating information to a team if they can't use the information, or if the information is not relevant to them. So that's something that we have to pay attention to. Line management is normally responsible, so jou supervisors, jou team leaders en jou bestuurders moet hierdie briefing meetings chair, as ek dit nou so kan noem, and they must make sure that the information gets down to the employees. And then of course, line managers must monitor that communication is done properly and that the systems have been implemented accurately. Okay, so daar is die beginsels, jy moet die beginsels kan noem en bespreek. They also give you a few benefits, which is very similar to the purposes. For example, to strengthen the position of the manager, it will help to reduce misunderstandings, it will help to reduce grapevine communication, dit laat toe vir terugvoering, so as daar 'n vraag is of as daar 'n concern is, kan iemand dadelik vra, hoorie, help vir my and verduidelik vir my, and it also helps them as a line manager to make sure that communication is portrayed in a positive manner, and that workers also get the chance to get feedback in that regard. Okay, so dit is die gedeelte wat ons vandag na gaan kyk. Tomorrow we will look at grievances in part 3, and then from there on we'll move into retrenchments and discipline. But for now, that's it. We'll talk again tomorrow. Bye!